Good evening.
Well, welcome, ladies and gentlemen. I'd like to officially call this meeting of the Mayor and Council to order. I would ask everyone to please rise for a moment of silent prayer and/or reflection as we continue to think about the families that have been affected by COVID in our state, in our town, and across our country. Please salute the flag. I pledge allegiance
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and
To
to the republic
which it stands,
one
One
nation,
nation,
stands,
under
one
God,
nation, under
under
God,
God,
indivisible,
with liberty
with liberty and justice for all.
for all.
Thank you very much. The New Jersey Open Public Meetings Law was enacted to ensure the right of the public to an advance notice of and attend any meetings of public bodies at which any business affecting their interests is discussed or acted upon. In accordance with this act, the Mayor and Council of the Borough of New Milford have caused notice of this meeting to be published by having the date, time, and place thereof posted in the Borough Hall, and notices have been sent to the Record and the Ridgewood News. The mission of this governing body is to provide essential services through the establishment and implementation of public policy that will safeguard the infrastructure, provide fair, honest, courteous, and professional services, establish a sense of trust and accomplishment between all residents, and through research and prudent planning, seek to minimize risk while improving our services. We are sensitive to the needs and satisfaction of our taxpayers, while realizing that this governing body cannot be all things to all people, within the revenue constraints imposed by state mandates, economic conditions, and prevailing attitudes about taxation. Being that we are holding this meeting remote, I have a few other reminders I must read. All participants are muted during the meeting. Anyone wishing to make comments or ask questions can do so at such time as the meeting is open to the public for comment and during public hearings on any ordinances by hitting the button to raise your hand or by typing a message in the chat box. You will need to state your name and address for the record. Members of the public may also submit their written comments for any future remote meetings by either email to cdemiras@newmilfordborough.com or a written letter to the Borough Clerk. Written comments must be received by 4 p.m. on the day of the remote meeting in order to be read into the record during the meeting. Members of the public commenting during a remote meeting shall not act in any manner to disrupt the meeting. If anyone becomes disruptive during the meeting, they will be muted. If time permits, the disruptive individual shall be allowed to speak after all other members of the public are provided an opportunity to comment. Any continued disruption may result in a member being prevented from speaking during the remainder of this meeting. Disruptive conduct includes, but is not limited to, shouting, interruption, and the use of profanity. Clerk, would you please call the roll?
Councilwoman Siraki Hurley.
Present.
Councilman Seymour.
Present.
Councilwoman Duffy.
Here,
Councilman Grotzky.
Here.
Councilwoman Sandhusen.
Present.
Council President Grant.
here,
Mayor Pacino.
Here. Okay. Under unfinished business, may I have a motion for the approval of the minutes from the March 22nd, 2021 work and closed session meetings?
So moved.
second,
All in favor?
Aye.
aye,
Any opposed? Okay. We have one ordinance to adopt, and that would be 2021:05. And when the clerk has a moment, I would ask her to please read the ordinance.
An ordinance to amend Chapter 30, Article 4, Section 30-20.6 of the Revised General Ordinances of the Borough of New Milford entitled Prohibited Uses to prohibit the operation of any class of cannabis business within its geographical boundaries.
As we saw during introduction, this is the opt-out of allowing cannabis business within the borough. The borough has 180 days to opt out. If you opt in, it's for 5 years, and we can opt in at any time. May I get a motion to open to the public for a public hearing on this ordinance?
Motion.
Second.
May I get a roll call, please?
Councilwoman Siraki Hurley.
Yes.
Councilman Seymour.
Yes.
Councilwoman Duffy.
yes,
Councilman Grotzky.
Yes.
Councilwoman Sandhusen.
Yes.
Council President Grant.
Yes.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen of the public, We invite you to ask any questions about this ordinance and this ordinance only.
There's only one member of the
Motion to
public.
close to the public.
Second.
All in favor?
Code.
Aye.
Actually, I need a roll call on closing
Aye.
to the
Councilwoman Siraki Hurley,
Yes.
Councilman Seymour,
Yes.
Councilwoman Duffy,
Yes.
Councilman Grotzky,
Yes.
Councilwoman Sanyusin,
Yes.
Council President Grant.
Yes.
May I get a motion to adopt this ordinance on its second and final reading?
Motion.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Councilwoman Siraki Hurley,
Yes.
Councilman Seymour,
Yes.
Councilwoman Duffy,
Yes.
Councilman Grotzky,
Yes.
Councilwoman Sanyusin,
Yes.
Council President Grant.
Yes.
Okay, moving on to new business. I have a proclamation for Earth Day. Office of the Mayor Proclamation. Whereas all species play a unique role in the complex web of life and contribute to the ecosystem services on which all life on Earth depends. And hence protecting our species is crucial to the survival of this planet and its inhabitants. And whereas wild animal populations have declined on an average by more than half, and the Earth is facing an era of mass extinction. And whereas the loss of species is for the most part a result of human activity, including degradation of ecosystems, deforestation, pollution, and climate change. And whereas by 2050, between 60 and 70% of all people will live in cities, and species provide important services to city dwellers, such as generating oxygen and purifying the air, controlling other animals considered pests that spread disease, pollinating plants and crops, providing recreation opportunities and well-being, etc. And whereas many plants, wild animals, and pollinators live in urbanized landscapes, and cities thereby have a responsibility to examine the ecological impacts of expanding urban areas and how to protect biodiversity. And whereas it is understood that sustainability will only be achieved by meeting the needs of the present without compromising the needs of the future generations. And whereas it is more important than ever to cooperate locally and internationally to defend the environmental progress that has been heretofore gained. And whereas it is essential to expand and diversify the global environmental movement to achieve maximum progress. And whereas Earth Day is an annual reminder of the constant need for environmental activism, stewardship, commitment, and sustainability efforts. Now, therefore, I, Michael Petrino, Mayor of the Borough of New Milford, have the distinct honor of proclaiming April 22nd, 2021 as Earth Day throughout the Borough of New Milford, and encourage all of its citizens, businesses, and institutions to use Earth Day to celebrate the Earth and promote the protection of our species.
Thank you, Mayor.
Oh, you're welcome. We have two ordinances on the agenda for introduction. The first one we will do next. The second one is 2021:07. And as we are aware, we have updated information coming in from the DPW and the New Milford Police Department. So I'm going to ask for a motion to table this ordinance for further discussion at our next meeting, when we
Make a
have
motion.
all the information in front of us.
I'd like to make a motion to table it at this time.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. So then we will do 2021:06, and when the clerk has a moment, I would ask her to please read the ordinance.
Capital ordinance to appropriate the sum of $164,750 for the installation of bench covers at Kennedy Field in, by, and for the Borough of New Milford in the County of Bergen, State of New Jersey, and providing that such sum so appropriated shall be raised from a county grant and from the Open Space Trust Fund of the borough.
Yes, this is for the bench covers at Kennedy Field. We'll be using our Bergen County Open Space Grant as well as our Open Space Trust Fund to fund this project. So may I get a motion to introduce this ordinance on its first reading?
So moved.
Second.
May I get a roll call, please?
Councilwoman Siraki Hurley,
Yes.
Councilman Seymour,
Yes.
Councilwoman Duffy,
Yes.
Councilman Grotzky,
Yes.
Councilwoman Sandhusen,
yes,
Council President Grant.
Yes.
Okay. The public hearing on this ordinance will be at our April 26th meeting. Moving along in new business, we're going to come to item number 1, which is New Milford Fire Department daytime hours. Councilwoman Duffy. floor is
Thank you,
yours.
Mayor. Good evening. Thank you. Good evening, everyone. In a conversation that I was having with our fire chief, our current fire chief, he mentioned to me about a discussion that the department was having regarding daytime coverage within our borough and within other boroughs around the county, some of the current trends and some of the solutions that some of the departments are thinking about. And rather than me try to make it sound like it should, I asked the chief to attend tonight's meeting. He and the deputy chief are much more versed in these things. So with that, I would like to introduce Chief Matt Kalman and Jared Birnbaum that are both on. So give it away to you, Chief.
Good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
Good evening.
I come to this meeting to ask for you guys to consider allowing the day member program. This program allows borough employees that are certified in Firefighter 1 to be able to respond to calls during the work hours. Currently, during the work hours of weekdays from 6 a.m. to 6 p.m., let me stress this, we always have a fire apparatus to respond to the scene. We always do. We always have at least one apparatus get out and respond. But we are very light on manpower, and it takes some time for some of the members to respond. Some are coming from other towns, and a lot of members on the department work between those hours. We average about 1 call a day. Majority of our calls are between the hours of 6 a.m. and 6 p.m., but our call volume can vary each week, each month. I want to stress that this issue it's not exclusive to the town of New Milford. Like Councilwoman Duffy said, it is something that is going on with volunteer firefighting in general. Another town nearby us, Holworth, implemented a requirement for their DPW that when they are hired, they have to join their fire department. And if they are not certified, they have to go through the academy and get certified. The program is very successful. Demarest and Holworth are being simultaneously dispatched with both boroughs because of that program. Unfortunately, this isn't a problem with New Milford, but Holworth during the evening hours they're struggling to get manpower, and they are starting to implement a stipend program. My biggest concern during the day is that, there might be an event, an incident like what happened in Spring Valley with multiple rescues, a lot of fire. It requires a lot of manpower, staffing, and a lot of resources. Of course, we will be calling in mutual aid immediately, but again, it takes time for those departments to arrive on scene. Time is a key factor in fighting these fires, and the sooner we get staff or manpower and resources on scene, the sooner we can make those rescues, the sooner we could put the fire out. This is my duty as fire chief to not only provide the residents in New Milford with the best fire protection, but I'm also being fiscally responsible. I want to avoid as best as possible from having to go to a stipend program that could cost or be costly to the taxpayers. And I think this program would be a step towards preventing that. We've already put into our rules and regulations, we set up the program as long as we get the green light and going ahead. If any of you have any questions, I'll take them now.
I was going to say, I think, as you mentioned, this may not be an immediate problem, but I think it's something we should always be looking at the future and what's happening down the road, because we can see trends throughout our state and in towns around us. One of the things that I would like to do is I'd like to create a committee that you would be on with Jared, your liaison, Randy, Councilman Grotzky, since he's a liaison to the DPW, and Vince, and myself and Chris Ramirez, so we could figure out, come up with some sort of plan, come up with the pros and cons, come up with, how one is going to affect the other, because everything we do affects, the other departments in town. So I think we should have that conversation and come up with a long-term plan.
Absolutely, I'm for that.
I think Council President Grant had a question. I'm sorry.
Sure.
Actually, since you're going to form a committee to investigate this, I'll just hold my questions.
Okay. Mr. Jared, you have anything on this, or?
No, I think that sums it up. I think, we just want to be proactive. We've lost a number of members over the past, 5 or 10 years, whether it be because of age or other factors, moving out of the borough, et cetera. One of my plans, one of the things I spoke with Matt about is actively engaging the superintendent of schools in regards to a possible program, which would make training a little bit easier, especially to bring up recruits in the future. We've had the bulk of our membership over the years has come through the Junior and Explorer fire training program. We think that both of those are an extremely beneficial thing to continue, and that's why we've brought up the lowering the age and doing away with the Explorer program, because the Junior's role has been expanded, because those two programs have really made the bulk of our members. To get people early in their life when they have time during school for extracurriculars, such as going to a class 2 nights a week for 6 months, is much more beneficial than trying to get some people with 1 or 2 jobs with other responsibilities in town. So that's one thing we're looking at. So it's not just exclusive to the DPW, idea, but it is one in a big breadth of programs that we'd like to start exploring.
Yeah, and I think the chief, he hit the nail on the head when he said this isn't a New Milford problem. You could see legislation from the state where they're starting Explorer programs earlier, and then they're extending the age of active firefighters. This is happening statewide. So I think, we sit down in a committee and figure out how we can move forward, because there is a number of factors here that affect all of this.
Absolutely.
If I might just, Chief, to go back to can you educate us on what happens now? Like when you say mutual aid, can you explain that? That's an agreement between some other departments, isn't it?
Well, we have mutual aid agreements for when we have actual incidents that require more manpower, more resources. We do have automatic fire alarms, such as the retirement homes and schools, for immediate mutual aid from Oradell and River Edge because of the volume of people in those buildings during the day. But I think that's really what it comes down to.
Yeah. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Just sometimes you guys use the lingo, and it's good for us to ask the questions. While you're here, I would like to also ask you and Christine and Kevin to iron out that 14-16 age for the. Hello?
Oh, of course. The
Yeah,
borough
could you
ordinance for
speak on
junior
that?
firefighters, we're asking that it reflects the state law that was recently changed to the minimum age of 14 from 16.
Yeah, and I did start research on that, Councilwoman Duffy, and I even called Mr. Sy was very helpful with that. He referred me to someone at the state. They have done this for that reason. It looks like we're preempted, so it would be controlling. The only issue that I don't know the answer to is we have an Explorer program as opposed to the state program, which is a little different. And that's what kind of stymied me on my on the research. So I was trying to get to the bottom of that, see if we could either incorporate or change it out. But we do it, it's part of the scouting program. In either event, the state ultimately sets forth the restrictions based upon age, so you can do this safely. You know, the 14-year-olds will be dealing with more of the supportive tasks post fire type of situation, and then as they get more adept, more highly trained, they're worked into the fold. So there's been a lot of thought at the state level about it. And the gentleman Mr. Sy referred to me to was one of the people, and his name escapes me at the moment, but he's one of the people actually involved in the designation of what was appropriate activity based upon the age of the firefighter. The only issue, and I had to circle back with George on this, is again, we are Explorer, is at least that's my knowledge, and both of the chiefs can correct me if I'm incorrect, but that's what George had indicated. So we're a little different than the standard town.
Well, it's actually, so basically how it's set up right now, just for clarification, under the Borough Ordinance 220, we have an established junior fire department. The fire companies individually have had an Explorer post since going back into the 80s. I think it was sometime when it was started. I came up as a member of the Explorer post back in the early 90s, and many of our members have started with that program. So we actually have two separate programs. So our junior fire department basically has them as members of the department from the age of 16 to 18, which was basically an expanded role above and beyond the Explorer post that we had. The Explorer post was and still is a division of basically the Boy Scouts of America, but it's called Exploring for Life. And that program has kind of been changing recently, one being because of the bankruptcy filings and Chapter 11 filings of Boy Scouts of America, as well as numerous other things. There was also some recent, and the fire companies basically in and of themselves pay for the charter fees for the members of the Explorer post. And originally the Explorer post was from 14 to 18. Those ages have been extended because of people staying home longer, et cetera, and being in school longer, to 23. So basically you could stay a Explorer with less criteria for required percentages and drills, et cetera, but your role is limited. Whereas if you wanted to, at 16, you could join the junior fire department, and then and subsequently at 18, you could join as a full member. So it's kind of, both programs kind of are intertwined, the juniors and the Explorers, but they have both existed for a long time. What we're interested in doing, and one of the other issues that came up, was the Explorer posts as an entity used to be able to be paid for out of bank accounts of the fire companies, but due to a recent case law, they're saying that that's no longer, they have to have their own account and all this other stuff. So that would require setting up another 501c3, et cetera, just the Explorer post and numerous other things. But because of the expanded role, we'd like them to be under the current junior laws. Since they've lowered that age, it would do away with the current insurance that we have through the Boy Scouts of America The insurance and qualifications for the junior program is obviously, as far as we're concerned, better financially and liability wise for the borough. So that's one of the reasons we were looking at doing that also.
Okay, the concern, this is where I got into the problem, because we don't have any reference to explorers in our ordinance.
Yeah, that's because it was under the fire companies themselves, under the civic organization.
Okay, so you did that under the club, so to speak, and the
Correct.
club sponsored it. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I couldn't find, and that's where I ran into the problem. So my recommendation is we set up a conference with myself, if Jared can sit in on it, maybe the other individual whose name escapes me, who's at the state.
Jerry, who's very
Sorry?
active. Jerry Nalis, I think is who George told
Yeah,
me to
it
call.
was Jerry. Yeah. And we could try to merge the two of them and achieve what the goal is. I mean, it's something we can do. It's just there's two different organizations wrapped up in one.
Yeah, I think basically all it would require at this point is just to lower the age of the borough ordinance 2-20, maybe to amend and be more specific about the policies and procedures and bylaws and policies for exactly the junior fire department.
I think that's preempted by the state. So we're going to be
Okay.
controlled by the state with regard to it. But the concern I have is you have the explorers in there, and I don't know, what that's about. So that's why I think a conversation would be helpful about it.
Yep, no, I got you.
I'm sure there's a
We're
long
basically-
history I'm not aware of.
Yeah, because we're
I don't see any
looking-
problem with it, but I just want to make sure
as-
everybody knows what's going
As
on.
Jared said, it goes way back to the 80s.
Yeah. So we're basically
Oh.
looking to do away with the Explorer program as it exists as part of the how we do it with the Boy Scouts.
Okay.
Thank you, guys.
So, Chris, if you could inform Vince and Sil that they are going to be appointed to this committee, and we could start setting stuff up and start having a conversation.
I just want to say thank you to Matt and Jared for coming tonight. We rely on you all so much for our safety of our residents and their properties. So thank you.
Thank you,
for
guys.
taking time
Oh.
out.
Absolutely.
you.
And I saw that you were the fast team in Bergenfield yesterday.
We were fast.
I was watching you guys back out the tower ladder. It worked. No signs were hit, so it was good. I was watching it. Have a good night, gentlemen.
You too, bye.
Have a good night, guys.
Good night, guys.
Good night.
Is there anything else on number 1? Okay. So obviously Randy and Ira will be on the committee as well.
And what's the next step besides informing Vince and Sil that they're on the committee?
Find a time where we can do a Zoom meeting with all parties. Okay, item number 2 is schedule updates.
Okay.
And the first thing I have is the Roots to Rivers program. I have it as Saturday, April 17th from 8 a.m. to 3 p.m. on Columbia Street. I know individuals from Roots to Rivers are coming. They're going to join members of the mayor and council and some committee people. And we're going to start planting the trees on the Blue Acre properties. I don't think all 400 are going to get planted on that day, so I know it's going to be an ongoing project. We have the Arbor Day tree seedling giveaway. It's our annual one. We didn't do it last year, but we do it every year. It'll be at the DPW on Saturday, April 24th, and that'll be from 10 a.m. to 12 p.m. And we are lucky enough to have the Girl Scouts joining us again to help facilitate it. And then we have the New Milford Woods dedication, which I believe is Sunday, April 25th at 11 a.m. Is that correct, Councilwoman Sanhusen? Okay.
Yes, that's correct.
And if there are any other events from any of your other groups that you want to bring up now, this is the perfect time. If I miss something, I know we will be having the Memorial Day ceremony, not a parade, on Memorial Day. I don't have the exact time, but I think it's going to be 11 o'clock. But Thea, we'll find out from Darlene when, okay.
We haven't had we're having a meeting tomorrow, I believe it is, so we don't know exactly the time, but that
Okay.
sounds like around the time. Mayor, I just have a question for you in regards to this tree planting. You said it was from 8 a.m. to 3?
Correct.
Oh, all right. I thought it was to 1.
No,
Yeah,
I
I
saw
saw
the,
the
today,
website
Yeah,
looks like
8 to 3.
one.
I believe it's
Yeah.
at 3, or I have that right. Yeah, 8 to 3.
It show up till 1, but the actual planning is taking place between 8 and 3. That's what the material stated.
Okay, that's all right. Thank you.
Okay, item number 3 is the COVID-19 Task Force Report. Administrator?
Yes, thank you, Mayor. The COVID-19 task force met on Thursday, April 1st, with reports from the New Milford Police Department, New Milford Fire Department, Office of Emergency Management, Ambulance Corps, Health Department, Administration, DPW, Recreation, and the Board of Ed, as well as the Mayor and Council. Topics discussed included the vaccination site status, spring sports, indoor and outdoor dining, potential spring-summer events, including the Memorial Day observation, the 5th grade car wash, and the New Milford Fire Department 5K. Our next meeting is scheduled for this Thursday, April 15th.
And as everyone knows, we had our first vaccination site. It went very well. We got a lot of positive feedback. We were able to vaccinate 100 people with the Johnson & Johnson site. We are scheduled to do another 100 vaccinations on Wednesday. So people who are pre-registered will be getting an email to start scheduling appointments. As we move forward, we hope to get more vaccinations from the state so we can continue this and vaccinate more people. I know spring sports are going well. There have been no incidents. Huge smiles on the faces of our kids. You know, when they don't have the mask on, when they have it on, you can see it in their eyes. And I know that, you know, my infield on the purple team is really shaping up. And I think they're going to be very formidable this year. So get them into
Nice.
shape. Administrators report. Chris.
Thank you. The borough's bond sale took place on March 25th, and the borough received a very favorable rate of 1.45% on the $11,995,000 bond issue. The declaration of intent was submitted to the Bergen County Open Space for the lights at Sutton Place Tennis Courts project. The project will be reviewed, and if accepted, an application will be prepared for submission by the May 14th deadline. The AARP Community Challenge Grant application for benches and trash receptacles for the New Milford Woods has been completed and was submitted on April 9th. All New Milford restaurants that currently offer outdoor dining have completed the required permit application and have provided the appropriate proof of insurance and indemnification. All have been reviewed by the borough attorney, risk manager, and zoning officer, and updated permits have been issued. Online fillable forms for things like tennis keys, garage sale permits, block party applications, no-knock registrations, concrete permits, fence permits, and many more are now available on the borough's website, and I'm happy to report people have been taking advantage of those online forms.
Great.
I attended a pre-construction meeting today for the water main replacement on Hoffman Avenue. This project is part of Suez's 5-year planning cycle, and it's being replaced because of breaks in the main that have taken place in the past. The work is tentatively scheduled for May 3rd to June 30th and will run from the Boulevard to Birch Street in Bergenfield. There are 7 side street intersections that will be affected. They will be replacing 1,460 feet of 8-inch water main. The old line is to be abandoned in place to eliminate the need for providing a bypass. The new trench will be south of the center line of the street between the existing main and the gas line. Notifications will go out to residents a week prior, and information will be posted on the borough website. The final curb to curb repave of Hoffman Avenue will take place approximately 2 months after the project is completed. And our next meeting is scheduled for 2 weeks from tonight on April 26th. Oh, as far as, I'm sorry, on Suez, I did ask if there were other streets that might be coming up in the future. And they said that they do have something where the design has already been completed. They don't have a schedule yet, and it's for Columbia from River Edge Ave to Henley. And that there are other sites that are not yet designed that would be on the 2024 or 2025 cycle. And that would be Newbridge Road, Linwood Avenue, and Newmeyer Drive. That's it for my report, Mayor.
Thank you. I mean, it's a major project on Hoffman, but it's probably well overdue, and it's gonna be much better when it's done. It's gonna be inconvenient while it's going on, but it's necessary. Okay. Resolutions. Are there any resolutions that are going to be need to pull out for further discussion? Okay, if not, we can start to go around the squares. And tonight we're going to start with Councilman Grotzky.
Thank you, Mayor. The only thing I had to report was the Roots to Rivers event, and you've already handled that, so thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you, sir. Councilwoman Siraki Hurley.
The only thing is I just wanted to go over, I know I have mentioned it in the past about our historic preservation commission that was having our oral history done. And Lynn Sullivan, who is our senior director, she was able to speak to her seniors, and they gathered on Friday outside where John Minko recorded them individually. So we're on the start. We're on the, on the go to start getting these oral reports. We have put it on social media, and actually, I think it's gone over something like over 2,200, whether it's Facebook or whatever, it's been shared. So we're hoping we can get more people that might be involved in doing our oral. Anyway, the other thing is with events, as the mayor has said, for our Memorial Day, I'm not sure whether we haven't decided whether it's 10 or 11 o'clock. We also have later on that evening, on May 28th at 7 p.m., where we go to our cemetery, the Huguenot Cemetery, where we place flags on our, we have Revolutionary and some Civil War veterans there, and a little bit of history. Of course, everything will be our COVID, following the social distance and everything. And I think that might be it. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you. Councilwoman Sanders.
There, I'm unmuted. Thank you, Mayor. I have nothing to report with my committees. Everything is copacetic there. I did, however, want to share with the mayor and council that I attended the workshop presented by Congressman Josh Gottheimer on the community project funding that's coming available to all congressmen to present to their districts. And each congressman will be able to present 10 projects, and the deadlines are pretty tight. They're pretty close. April 16th is when they want their requests in, and they're looking for projects that are community ready and what is the lingo, Councilwoman Duffy, shovel ready. So
plans on the shelf.
Yes.
Yes. Shovel ready. I like it.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Councilman Seymour.
Thank you, Mayor. Not much to report tonight committee-wise. However, glad to announce that I think a week from today, which would be April 19th, the elementary schools in New Milford will be combining cohorts. So Berkeley and Gibbs will be joining the other schools with live in-person instruction Monday through Friday. And I especially want to thank our residents out there for not only being as patient as they've been, but for working as hard as they've worked to help their kids learn through this really difficult, challenging period. And Mayor, as you pointed out, spring sports is in the air. It's starting this week. The rec committee did meet last week. Just a few days ago, and the focus was rec soccer, which is starting, weather permitting, practices this week. So let's keep our fingers crossed for good weather for everybody.
Yes, New Milford won its travel soccer game yesterday.
Awesome.
They defeated Oakland 8-5. So my daughter was very happy about that. And you talked about, the cohorts getting together and going back to school full time. And my youngest daughter is already picking out her outfits for a full week. So
Very nice.
That is coming. Yes. Councilwoman Duffy.
Thank you, Mayor. Of course, on the Board of Health, a really big thank you, and we are so grateful for our Board of Health President, Denise Brunner, and for all of her efforts, as she put it, her heart and soul, into securing the vaccine site, getting it off the ground, getting the product to get into the arms of our residents. So just really big thank you there. And the board is continuously looking at ways to improve. So we'll be moving forward with that. As far as beautification goes, we will be starting our spring cleanups, and I'd like to put out a shout out to volunteers. Anybody that's looking to log on to some community hours or that just loves to get their hands dirty, please contact the beautification committee through the clerk's office. We'll be cleaning up gardens at the library, the front beds in the back. We'll work on our Holland Avenue garden, and also the garden at Harrison Street, which was created from nothing by an Eagle Scout project. So well worth it, getting together with some residents, communing with nature. So please join if you can. That's my report. You met the guys earlier from the fire department. So that's it.
Thank you. Council President Grant.
Thank you, Mayor. I am happy to tell you that the sculpture garden at the library is progressing nicely. The DPW will be picking up the 7 remaining sculptures within the next few weeks, and we already have 2 in storage, and I hope that they will be installed by the middle of May, and we're looking forward to a June dedication, and more on that as we get there. So thank you.
Excellent news. I just have a couple of public service announcements. The last couple of weeks I've been posting. Just if anyone is going to, if you're going to remove or trim a tree, please contact the DPW and find out if you need a tree permit first. Make sure that they are aware. And the other thing is, I know the New Milford Police Department had sent a post out, just reminding people to keep their eye on their bicycles, lock them up. There has been a slew of bicycle thefts in and around New Milford. This isn't just a New Milford problem, all around. So just to be more aware of that and make sure you keep your eye and lock them up so no one loses their bikes. And that's all I have. Okay. So at this time, I would ask for a motion to open up to the public.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, ladies and gentlemen of the public, now's your opportunity to ask any questions or comments about the Borough of New Milford, and you have to give us your name and your address, and you get 5 minutes to speak.
We just have two of our regulars in the audience. Neither one of them has indicated a desire to.
Well, with that, I would ask for a motion to close to the public.
Motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 Any opposed? Okay. May I get a motion to adopt resolutions 2021:119 through 2021:127?
So moved.
Second.
May I get a roll call, please?
Yes. Councilwoman Siraki Hurley,
Yes.
Councilman Seymour,
Yes.
Councilwoman Duffy,
Yes.
Councilman Grotzky,
Yes.
Councilwoman Sandhusen,
Yes.
Council President Grant.
Yes.
Is there any other business before this council? Okay, ladies and gentlemen, there is no closed session tonight, so we will be ending the meeting here. So I would ask for a motion to adjourn.
Motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Well, thank you very much. And thank you for everyone who tuned in. And thank the fire guys for joining us tonight. And continue to be safe and enjoy the weather.
Thank you. Good night,
Thank
everybody.
Thank you. Good
Good night, everyone.
Good
Be
night.
safe.
Everyone, be well.
Yes.
See you.
Do well.
Sorry.
Can you stay on for a minute and?
I can.